Up there is the surface of the world. And down where I am is a quartz vein that the old timers were hunting for gold. I've always found it super difficult to show scale when it comes to gold mines, but this was a sketchy mine to get into. That is about 10 meters above my head. And to make it even more interesting, this is a beautiful widowmaker that would see me dead. I'm gonna call it Gary. Gary, you're falling apart. Excuse me, Gary, you beautiful son of a bitch. This has to be one of the cleanest examples of a gold mine in this area that I've seen ever. You normally can't access this sort of depth without really good quality climbing gear. And I've always hypothesized that the deeper I went into one of these vein structures in this region, the more obvious what they were working would become. There's very little waste quartz in the tailings piles above me. And I always hypothesized that in this area, whatever they were chasing was so obvious, it was really easy to get rid of all of the junk and just keep the best stuff. This is definitely their main vein, and it sits directly below Gary, which is just fucking great. The host rock here is extraordinarily soft. In fact, you can see that they did most of this by hand tools, just by the markings in the wall. And this is the vein that they were chasing. I'm gonna grab my pick because I wanna do a little bit more sampling. And if this proves fruitful, I'll come back and get rid of Gary here. Sorry, old mate, but I can't have you hanging around off the clock like that. You can also see where the fault line, the structure that originally put this vein in, comes up at one point, and they in fact chased it in a little bit. So there was obviously a payable vein that ran through here. This is probably just here. This sort of material was often left because it's just too small. Like, to get 1 ton of this, you have to remove all of this, right, to access it. So it might be 10 ounces a ton, but you have to remove 30 or 40 tons worth of host rock to access that little bit of vein, which just wasn't worth it for them back in the day. Has no relevance on us. I'd be happy to remove maybe a bucket's worth of that material, spend my time doing it, and maybe collect 5, 6, 7 grams of gold. So I just don't know where I should be trying to take this from, because I don't want to disturb Gary too much. This looks very obvious, this part that's jutting out a little bit. So I'm going to try and loosen that up. Let's see what happens. You're in the wall. Gary, I swear to God, if you can kill me. Let's find the loose bit. Oh yeah. I should probably get the metal detector down here, but it's not really worth it. Like, the gold in my area is super fine. And so I'm better off just taking small samples, crushing up, and see what comes out of it than I am trying to metal detect something that probably won't be detectable. I mean, this looks good. So, a little bit of hope there. I just pulled this bit, and this is a super important piece of quartz to find in a mine like this. One of the things we look for in quartz when we're looking for hard rock is a thing called Vo-Gus. Just voids in the quartz like that. The voids, when they look like this, also known as mouse-bitten quartz, form when sulfides have oxidized away due to groundwater and oxygen penetration within the quartz. All that means is that at some point some water and oxygen got to it, obviously, because it's all open to the elements, and the sulfides, like iron pyrites, have rusted away. They've oxidized out. Gold is very closely associated with that iron sulfide. So to see that in the vein gives me a lot more hope that we're going to see something when we crush it. This position keeps me relatively safe from Gary. Oh yeah. Now that I have a backpack full of rocks, I gotta get out of this hole. Okay, time to try and get up this mound of leaves. It never ever looks as steep or as difficult. Oh God, I'm falling on camera, ever. But this is I'm literally walking up leaves right now. Like, there's no ground beneath me. That's the problem right there. It just wants to cave in at this end. It's like your feet, there is no actual solid ground underneath you. Hello, detector. Oh, thanks for waiting for me. It's a bit bigger than it looked before, eh? Now that I got the ore home and I've been able to look at it, I can see some truly spectacular geology. I'm hoping there's some gold in this. It's the right stuff, it's at the right depth. The only way we're going to find out is to introduce it calmly to the Stumpy Rock Crusher. It's powered off an angle grinder. You can use a corded or an uncorded one like this. And there's several different attachments that you can put on the output. So you can put a classifier plate on it. You can hook a vacuum cleaner to it to suck it out to reduce dust. There's a lot of different options. But put simply, it's going to make real short work of our little sample of potential gold ore. You still absolutely will need some kind of respirator system because these things are nasty. You do not want to be sucking into your lungs whatever's in that rock. It's the first time I've done this. The output for the crusher is directly over the top of a bucket. I'm just going to let it fall unless it creates too much dust. That ain't going to work. It's okay, I've got the solution. That should be enough to tell us if there's gold in that vein and if it's worth going back and getting more. But we have to wet it down so I can take my damn mask off. Whew, that's better, I can talk. This is what I like to call blowing the silt out of it. If you just let a little bit of water run over it and mix it, all the really fine particles of dirt wash off. And you're left with just the gravels that you've created with your rock crusher, like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see any gold in this at all, because 99% of all quartz, even in a gold mine, has nothing in it. It's very specific geology you're after. Before we see if there's any gold in that, I want to mention that this video is sponsored. Not by anyone else. It's sponsored by myself and The Old Moldy. The Old Moldy is my website where you can pick up gold nuggets, crystals, pay dirt, gemstones, all sorts of stuff, including the things that you see me dig up right here on this channel. So if you would like to help our sponsor today, check out theoldmoldy.com.au. This is either going to go one of two ways. Really well or really bad. I found a few excellent quartz veins in my time, and I would like to repeat that again because it's been a while since I found one that was like, oh damn, that will be worth working. I also mentioned that the quartz particle size that I crushed down to isn't fine enough. It needs to be much finer than this, and you can do that with that rock crusher, but you need to fit a different attachment to it. And today, because I'm pressed for time, I didn't worry about it. If there's gold in this sample, it'll be enough to tell us that we're going back and looking again. We're finally down to the nitty gritty of it. Haven't seen too many sulfides or anything pop out just yet, but I do believe it is time to spin this back and see if crawling into that deep hole was in fact worth it. Now if we see gold, that's a good thing. If we don't see gold, that's the normal thing. Some sulfides, not heaps. Oh, I see gold. Oh my god. I see gold. I see gold. Oh, it's a good bit. Holy crap. Holy crap. That's a real good bit of gold. That is very typical reef gold too. See how bright and shiny it is compared to alluvial gold that's got more of a matte finish to it? It's still got a piece of quartz right in the middle of it as well. Oh, we got a good bit. That's detectable gold. Maybe I should have taken the metal detector down there. We got fine gold too. Fine gold like that's typically what we find in ore in the northeast of Victoria. It's not usually that big chunky nuggety stuff. It's almost always that super fine flour gold. So I guess I'm going back